For decades, over $300 billion in annual imports faced steep tariffs, taxes that affected everything from electronics to clothing, automobiles to raw materials. These tariffs, once a cornerstone of U.S. trade policy, have now been declared unconstitutional, sending shockwaves through the world of commerce and government alike. This landmark Supreme Court decision marks a pivotal turning point for America's role in the global economy. It not only ends years of escalating trade friction, but also fundamentally redefines the balance of power between the executive branch and Congress when it comes to setting trade policy. For many, it's a long-awaited correction to what they saw as unchecked presidential authority. The tariffs were originally imposed as a shield for U.S. industries, targeting goods from China and even some of America's closest allies. This move ignited a global trade war, with countries retaliating by slapping their own tariffs on American products. The result was a tangled web of restrictions, uncertainty, and rising costs that rippled through international markets and everyday American life. With the Supreme Court's intervention, this contentious chapter in U.S. trade history is closing. The decision forces a nationwide reassessment of protectionist policies, compelling lawmakers, businesses, and economists to reconsider the true impact of tariffs on economic growth, job creation, and America's standing in the world. Across the country, American businesses, large and small, have argued that these tariffs raised their costs, disrupted vital supply chains, and ultimately hurt U.S. competitiveness. Small business owners struggled to keep shelves stocked and prices stable, while manufacturers faced delays and uncertainty in sourcing materials. Their collective frustration led to a sweeping legal challenge, culminating in a Supreme Court case that questioned the very foundation of who holds constitutional authority over trade. The courtroom became a battleground for competing visions of America's economic future. The verdict is a significant victory for those advocating a predictable, rules-based trade system, one governed by Congress, as outlined in the Constitution, rather than by unilateral executive action. It restores a sense of order and transparency to the process, giving businesses and trading partners greater confidence in America's commitments. The implications of this decision will touch every corner of the U.S. economy. From the prices consumers pay at the supermarket, to the strategies businesses use to compete globally, to the way America negotiates with its allies and rivals, the effects will be far-reaching and long-lasting. As America pivots away from tariff-centric policies, a new trade landscape is emerging, one shaped by legal precedent, renewed congressional oversight, and the promise of more stable, collaborative international relationships. The future of American commerce is being rewritten, and the world is watching to see what comes next. The Supreme Court's three ruling invalidated tariffs imposed under Section 232 and Section 301, finding the executive branch exceeded its authority. The court emphasized that the power to tax and regulate foreign commerce belongs to Congress, not the president. National security justifications for the tariffs were deemed overly broad and not aligned with the statute's intent. The decision sets a higher bar for future administrations, requiring explicit congressional approval for sweeping trade measures. In short, the ruling rebalances power, affirming that only Congress can impose broad tariffs on the American people. The decision is rooted in the Constitution's separation of powers. The court found that allowing presidents to impose massive tariffs would transfer legislative authority to the executive, violating constitutional structure. The justices ruled that national security can't be used as a catch-all for economic protectionism. Section 301 was also interpreted narrowly. It allows targeted remedies, not sweeping trade wars. The ruling reinforces that Congress's delegations of power have limits, and the executive must act within them. By striking down the tariffs, the court set a precedent. Major economic decisions require legislative deliberation. This decision will shape trade law for generations, ensuring Congress remains central in setting trade policy. The end of tariffs sent immediate shockwaves through the U.S. economy. Companies reliant on imports saw instant relief, with lower input costs projected for industries like automotive, tech, and construction. Consumers may soon benefit from lower prices on a wide range of goods. Domestic producers, especially steel and aluminum, now face renewed global competition and must adapt quickly. Financial markets responded positively, welcoming the removal of economic uncertainty. Economists expect the ruling to help moderate inflation and boost household purchasing power. While some sectors face tough adjustments, most experts see the decision as a net positive for growth and efficiency. The ruling signals a shift toward a more stable, globally integrated trade environment. For many American businesses, the ruling removes a major hurdle. Small and medium-sized firms in particular will benefit from lower costs and more predictable supply chains. Domestic producers who thrived under tariffs now face a tougher, more competitive landscape and must innovate to survive. The decision brings stability, encouraging long-term investment and strategic planning. Companies integrated into global supply chains will see their competitiveness improve. Those relying on protection must adapt or risk decline. Overall, the business community welcomes a return to a level playing field and a focus on innovation and efficiency. The nation shifts from protectionism to global competitiveness. Trading partners worldwide have welcomed the Supreme Court's decision. Europe and Asia, once targets of U.S. tariffs, are preparing to lift retaliatory measures, reopening markets for American exports. International organizations see the ruling as a return to rules-based trade and a boost for global cooperation. While cautious, foreign governments hope for consistent U.S. policy and renewed diplomatic engagement. The decision offers a chance to rebuild trust and strengthen alliances. With tariffs gone, the U.S. can focus on new global challenges like supply chain resilience and digital trade. This could mark the start of a new era in American trade diplomacy. The Supreme Court has redrawn the boundaries of presidential power in trade. The president can no longer use national security as a blanket justification for broad tariffs. Major tariff changes now require congressional approval, restoring transparency and deliberation to trade policy. The executive still negotiates agreements and enforces laws, but Congress sets the overarching strategy. This rebalancing fosters collaboration between the White House and Capitol Hill. Laws passed by Congress are more durable than executive orders, creating stable trade policy. Both branches now play distinct critical roles in shaping America's economic future. The Supreme Court's ruling has sent shockwaves through Washington, deepening the already sharp political divides over U.S. trade policy. What was once a technical legal question has now become a flashpoint for broader ideological battles, with lawmakers, officials, and citizens all taking sides in a debate that cuts to the heart of America's economic future. America First supporters are outraged, calling the decision a clear case of judicial overreach. They argue that the ruling strips the president of vital tools needed to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. Many blue-collar workers and union leaders echo these concerns, fearing that the government's hands are now tied when it comes to defending their livelihoods. On the other side, free trade advocates and business leaders are celebrating. They see the ruling as a restoration of constitutional checks and balances, a move that limits executive power and strengthens the role of Congress. For them, it's a victory for consumers, who may benefit from lower prices, and for America's global alliances, which rely on stable, predictable trade policies. In Congress, the ruling has sparked intense debate. Some lawmakers are pushing to further restrict presidential authority over trade, arguing that only Congress should have the power to impose tariffs or negotiate deals. Others warn that such limits could leave the U.S. vulnerable to economic threats from abroad, and are calling for new legislative tools to respond quickly to foreign challenges. The debate is spilling over into the public sphere, with campaign ads and town hall meetings focusing on trade policy like never before. Voters across the country are paying close attention, knowing that the outcome will shape not just the economy, but also America's role in the world for years to come. In the industrial Midwest and Rust Belt, many workers feel betrayed, worried that their jobs are now at greater risk. Meanwhile, farmers and export-driven businesses in other regions are hopeful that the ruling will bring relief from retaliatory tariffs and open new markets for their goods. Trade policy has become a fiercely partisan battleground, with Republicans and Democrats clashing over the best path forward. The stakes are high, as the very identity of America's economy, whether it leans toward protectionism or global engagement, hangs in the balance. While the Supreme Court may have settled the legal question, the political fight is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning, promising to shape the nation's trade strategy and political landscape for years to come. The recent Supreme Court's ruling marks a pivotal moment, setting the stage for a more predictable and transparent U.S. trade policy, one that is increasingly shaped by Congress rather than executive action. This shift signals a return to the constitutional roots of trade authority, where elected representatives play a central role in crafting the nation's economic relationships with the world. Now, any major changes to trade policy will require open legislative debate and negotiation, fostering a climate of stability and predictability for American businesses and international trading partners alike. This process not only encourages transparency, but also allows for a broader range of voices and interests to be considered, reducing the risk of abrupt policy shifts that can disrupt markets. The Supreme Court's decision also encourages a renewed commitment to multilateralism and international cooperation. By involving Congress, the U.S. is better positioned to engage with allies and trading partners, building coalitions and strengthening global institutions that support fair and open trade. Looking ahead, America has the opportunity to reclaim its leadership role in shaping global trade rules, especially in emerging areas such as digital commerce, data privacy, and climate policy. These modern challenges require innovative solutions and international collaboration, areas where the U.S. can set high standards and drive progress. With Congress at the helm, there will be a greater emphasis on developing targeted, effective tools to address unfair trade practices. Rather than relying on broad, sweeping tariffs, lawmakers can craft nuanced policies that protect American industries while maintaining strong global relationships. The future of U.S. trade policy will likely be a hybrid approach, balancing open markets and free trade with robust, legally sound enforcement mechanisms. This ensures that American workers and businesses are protected, while also keeping the U.S. economy competitive on the world stage. Today, the United States stands at a crossroads. While the legal path forward is clearer than ever, the nation's economic direction remains the subject of intense debate among policymakers, business leaders, and the public. Ultimately, the nation must decide how it will lead in global commerce, build consensus at home, and forge a new era of prosperity and cooperation. The choices made now will shape America's economic future for generations to come.